Shut the radio. But crazy. The Killer of Giants is on. That's crazy. Killer of Giants song is on. Doesn't that fit perfectly what we're doing here today? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Exploring the Ka on YouTube. This is the Space Water Podcast. It's going to be episode 16. We got the glasses on. Oh, we're chilling this morning. Let me see if I could get the chat room up. See who's joining us this morning. Nobody's in there yet? Let me see. We'll wait for some people to join. Well, let's start this morning. Hey, Charlotte Knight. Well, we got some people joining us. We got at least one person joining us. It is almost 5 a.m. here on the East Coast here in New York. And welcome people joining us. This is my Space Water Podcast. It's better for me sometimes to do it early morning when the girls are sleeping here. And I got more time. This is very important times that we're living in, everybody. And of course, a lot of people out there are being negative. A lot of people out there have a lot of weird currents of energy affecting them and forces going on. And somebody actually just emailed me a very interesting topic that I thought we should start off with here this morning on the Space Water Podcast. And that's, yeah, you should be sleeping, right? I should be sleeping too. And that's, are there giants under Malta? Very interesting question. They said that they just watched it on a popular YouTube channel, and I didn't see the video that they're talking about. Let me put on the Giants cap. Here we go. We'll get in the mood. Even though I'm not a football fan, really. But we got the Giants cap for you. Hard to resist. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's a very interesting topic. We've talked about the bloodlines related to the Giants. You guys know I've had Gary Wayne on many, many times to discuss the Giants and the giant bloodlines. And ultimately, they are connected, in my opinion. And we can back this up with a lot of evidence, historical evidence. It's just a controversy about if there were actual giants, because we don't have giant bones. But when I say giant, I mean in the ancient culture, the last of them were between 6 and 10 feet tall, right? It seems that there was a variety of these bloodlines, and those of the ancient world that tended to be over 6 feet to 10 feet were connected, a lot of them, to these bloodlines. Yeah, as are we. We are just watered down, right? Remnants of all of this. And when it comes to Malta, we have a very interesting area. See, these bloodlines are, in my opinion, connected to ancient Vedic bloodlines, the Asura and the Deva bloodlines. We have talk of Atlantis and Lemuria and all of these places, but we don't have any tangible writings of Atlantis or tangible evidence of Atlantis and Lemuria as of yet, right? Because these probably were so long ago that maybe even the ocean floor is the ceiling of Atlantis now, right? Like we're a, sort of a world on top of an old world. So it's really hard to prove things like that, but we do have remnants of ancient Vedic culture. And the oldest of the Vedas are the Rig Veda. And throughout the Vedas, you see where the change on the planet took place, where these bloodlines were at one time in harmony with each other, living in harmony with the universe as well. So you guys need to put also the spiritual aspect of this on top of things, because these the ancient ones that we're speaking about, the ancient ones on the planet, at that time, spirituality and science were fused together. They were one and the same. They weren't held on different ends of the spectrum, right? So when somebody was an adept, they were a scientist, a doctor, a scholar, uh, a warrior, and a priest, all in one, right? And much more, right? They were the masters of the seven sciences, or they were masters of, blacksmiths and doctors and priests and warriors, all wrapped into one, right? So and there was the spiritual aspect and the scholarly, and they were fused together. There was not one without the other, right? So a lot of times we have deep sciences described in a very spiritual, metaphorical, poetic way, right? So the adepts have the spiritual application to the deep sciences of the universe, right? Because even the great sciences that we see today, they're all under divine control of God, right? Of the universe, right? You can look at the universe as the monotheistic God, right? And you can look at each specific sun and star with planets around it are the angels of God, God's warriors, God's messengers, right? And they send out messages in the form of plasma streams. That plasma streams carrying electrons and all the information within it carries the information to either create, destroy, evolve, sustain, all of the things that suns, stars do, right? And as the sun goes through a progression, it's sending out information, and then novas or supernovas, depending on its size, right? Those particles of that harmonic evolution of that star system, it goes into the celestial ocean of the Akashic network, if you want to say, right? So every sun and star is streams of plasma that flow like rivers, right? And those suns and stars, each angel, they form each river of data, they form a confluence of a celestial ocean. And this celestial ocean is described in all mythology, in all cultures, across all platforms. And I've been rediscovering this knowledge, not through just scholarship, but through life experiences. The scholarship, my life experiences and my spiritual experiences has set me on the path of what to study. You can't find the answers of these sacred symbols and sacred writings through scholarship alone, because they were intended for spiritual initiates and adepts, right? So it's through life experiences and spiritual experiences that some of the answers get awakened within you, right? And this is the case with me when I realized that the golden noose of the gods, the Ankh of Egyptian, the Pasha of Hindu, is the very coronal mass ejection coming from the sun, solar prominence, right? These are all solar deities, right? Solar deities here. So when you see, let me show you guys something. Give me a second. Give me a quick second for you guys. Let me just pull some things up for you guys before I share screen. So when you see, hold on, let me share screen with you guys real quick. The ragas, yeah, of course. I know all about it, right? So we'll get into that in a minute. So when you see the coronal mass ejection that comes from the sun, this is the golden noose of the gods, right? And for decades, hundreds of years, if not thousands, I'm just talking about modern times right now, This symbol of the Ankh, or the Pasha in Hindu, has been a symbol in popular culture. It's been a symbol all over, and people have always said they know the origins of the Ankh. Well, I'm telling you, everybody, I was shown this in a spiritual, by God, if you want to say, the universe, right? And for many years, I was wrong. I was talking about it on a more human level, a microcosmic level, because there's also these Ankh, these arches of plasma, of light, right? These arches of art, or arcs of light, they form in a lot of different places. Even like, say you have a power station and there's a switch failure. Sometimes you'll see an arc of electricity that forms, right? I have a picture from, I think, Boulder, Colorado, when there was a switch failure at their power station where it formed an arc of plasma, right? Basically, right? And it's the fourth stage of matter. If you heat matter up high enough, you get plasma, right? It's an intelligence that we are just starting to be aware of, let alone understand, right? And 99.999% of the mass of the universe is plasma. It's interconnecting everything. It's interconnecting galaxies and nebulas, and it's every sun and star is pulsating streams of plasma. What we were taught in school is very archaic. It's not a hydrogen gas sphere, it's a plasma sphere, a plasma star, right? And these are the sentient angels of God. These are the fallen angels, are specific suns and stars that were communicating with humans and specific sentient beings, instead of the sentient being being in tune with the harmony and flow of nature and the universe. They were working with specific stars and suns and worshiping specific stars and suns. And those are the fallen ones, impulsing new abilities, new information to specific sentient creatures on specific planets. Those are the fallen, so-called fallen angels, right? And the Kabiri, the seven Kabiri, were the ones that started to repopulate the earth after major floods and catastrophes. Because not only do we get flooded with a river of plasma above us, but it releases catastrophes on earth that releases the waters below as well here, right? So when you see this golden noose of the gods, this is the coronal mass ejection, or the solar prominence, or coronal plasma loop. I know my body responded when I was shown this at the red granite megalithic dolmen, where I had this experience on winter solstice during the alignment. And we'll get into that in a minute, but these are all solar deities. So right here, you see Varuna, right? Varuna is the god of the solar ocean. You realize how incredible that is, right? Varuna is not just the god of the oceans on Earth. The origins of Varuna, who is the oldest, one of the oldest gods of the Asuric force, right? So he's a god of the Asuras, right? So who are the Asuras? They are the warrior aspect of the Vedic people. We see them reemerge after the flood as Persians and Assyrians and different tribes like this, right? So when you have Zoroastrianism and Persians and all, they are about the warrior aspect of the sun, right? So this is the destructive forces of the sun, right? So when we have here Varuna, who wields his Varuna Pasha, his loop, right? Remember, he is a solar deity. So attributes of the solar deity are going to be weapons of the sun, right? You got to really realize the context of what we're talking about here. And right. And he's going through the swampy waters towards Earth, representing the crocodile. Right now, traveling on those plasma waters, the solar wind waters, is the coronal loop, right? And what do they describe this Pasha loop as? Yes, they describe it as a golden weapon, a golden noose of the gods, and they use it to lasso souls on Earth and pull them into the celestial waters. How incredible is that? What a poetic description. He's even carrying the soul water jug as well, right? And when you see multiple arms on these deities, this is the swirling vortex, the many arms of the sun, right? And each arm usually is holding a different attribute of the sun. One of them, of course, being the coronal loop that you see here, right? And you can see the way they describe it in many ways. They even show it as the golden noose, just very similar. And you see Ganesha wields this noose as well. And Ganesha is also a solar deity, and he uses the golden noose to remove the evil on earth. How incredible is that? How incredible is that, right? Now, we see this also, hold on. We see this also in, when we get down to Persian, we see this in Zoroastrianism, right? So let me show you guys how incredible this is, because all these years people have been asking or telling you they know what these symbols mean. Well, I'm telling you it's decoded here, right here on the Space Water podcast. And we are on the right path when I'm telling you that these loops, these rings that the solar king is holding, this is a solar deity, remember, is the coronal loop, the coronal rings of the sun. These wings represent the solar wind, the power of the solar wind, right? And these are the golden rings, which are the golden rings of the sun, right? And these are the destructive forces of the sun. And this is the Asura tribes, the Persian tribes. They're warrior people, right? And so they're going to be portraying, and it as in a good aspect, though. You got to see when these Asura Deva tribes split up, these Asura tribes, now called the Devas, demons, right? They even changed the spelling of the word deva, right? Just like they use the Asura, they use Ahura Mazda as their god, right? It's a sound shift because when these people split up, these ancient Aryan Vedic tribes, they split up and they mingled with the local populations of the area, and that that local population's dialect seemed to have merged with the ancient Vedic, bringing a new sound shift, right? So when you go to ancient Egyptian area, right, you have Osiris is not, that's a Greek term, Osiris, but what he was called in Egyptian is Asar, right? Asar Netar, right? The Asar Netar, right? And the Asar is the Asura, right? The Asura sun god, right? But these tribes also were hybrids, Asura and Deva mixed. Many of them were Asura and Deva mixed up, right? So they had a little bit of both. They were warrior priests, shepherd kings, fisher kings. All of these bloodlines go back to Vedic. Now, I had an interesting, let me stop sharing for a second. Now, this is groundbreaking, people. Realize these symbols are groundbreaking that I'm talking about this, because there's been people talking about what they meant for years. And you got to look at the context of what they're meaning as well, right? I'm open to debating everybody, but these rings that you're seeing are the rings behind you, right? It's the solar, and it's the weapons of the sun. It's a weapon of the sun, and it's a weapon of the solar deity in all of these religions. You guys, let me see. This is, it's the ring. It's the ring of the sun. And these are formed by twisting magnetic field lines, which is shown all over with Middle East, South America, Quetzalcoatl. You'll see him holding the two snakes. When you see the sun god holding two snakes, whether he's about to twist them, it looks like those twisting snakes is what forms the plasma loops, the coronal loops, right? It's twisting magnetic field lines. And you'll see this right here. Like you have these two lines come here that's spiraling and that are twisting to form the ring, right? And the solar wind is what carries it. So, I mean, it's really incredible plasma physics hidden within mythology and in sacred symbolism, right? So they're representing right here the solar wind, twisting magnetic spiraling field lines, and coronal loops, coronal rings, right? It's the ring and rod of the gods. And you'll see it's also shown with the baskets that they hold, with the wristwatches. That wristwatch is all about the sun, the solar year, the timekeeper, the solar deity being the timekeeper. And that basket that they're holding with the loop, that loop is the coronal loop carrying the water basket of the heaven. It's traveling on the waters, right? And then you'll see above is the sun with wings, the solar wind, right? All of these cultures have the symbolism with the sun with wings. That is representing the power of the solar wind, right? The solar wind is what forms our magnetosphere around our planet so we can live, right? The roaring force of the solar wind is what forms a plasma vortex, a swirling vortex of plasma around Earth. And the coronal loops that come, all the spiraling loops of electrons spiraling, right? They sometimes just bounce off that magnetic shield. But those that come through, they make an orchestra of music as well. That's repeated by birds that I've talked about, right? So it's all, when you have Earth, Earth is one, the biosphere's Earth is one living organism. And that living organism is supposed to be in harmony with the one living organism of the universe, right? But because of technologies and different stars even sending their streams of plasma to life on Earth, we've developed technology that has disrupted the harmony of Earth with the universe, right? We have developed technology now that is a replication of what we should be interfaced with. We should be using natural elements to be in tune and harmony with the music of the universe. Instead, we are making replicated machines to do that for us so we can sit back and watch. And now that's taken on a life of its own, right? And I got an interesting email today about asking me if there's giants beneath Malta, that there was a popular YouTube channel that just did a video about it today. I think they said it was the Y Files or something. I never seen the channel but I typed it in. I saw they did do a show titled that. I didn't watch it, but it's getting mainstream now, these topics, right? Now, Dr. Leo Martello, who was a mentor to me and a friend of the family and like a family member, is also was Laurie Bruno's best friend and left the rights to his books to Laurie Bruno. He left me a couple of things as well, and one is some of a collection of books. And he was a famous author in the 60s and 70s. He died in 2000, but he gave me the National Geographic from 1920, and then also another one from like 1902, I think. And they have the records of the first three discoveries of Malta, right? So Malta, first I answer this question if I think there's possibly, because let me answer first. Yes, I think there's a possibility that there's giants or remnants of these giant cultures that are living beneath Malta. And what I mean by giants is they could be anywhere from 6 to 10 feet tall. I don't think that the ancient, really tall ones are left, but there could be ones that are from 6 to 10 feet tall that are related to these bloodlines still. These Asura, Deva bloodlines who then became like even the Phoenicians and people like this, right? So Malta is a whole island that's developed or devoted to the mother goddess. In fact, I don't even think the original Maltese language has has a word for God or for like a man god. It's all feminine in aspect. Um, in 1902, there was a contractor who discovered what's now the world famous hypogeum of Halsafini in Malta. Who's in the chat room? Oh wow, Leslie, yeah, it's 10 a.m. there. It's going to go down for 10 days, the magnetosphere, Lynn. Well, we'll talk about that. Thank you for being in the chat room here, Lynn. Where's Johnny? I hope Johnny shows up because I wanted to make him a moderator too. This is a huge underground temple that's literally built out of solid rock, right? Uh, a Neolithic incredible feat, right? Marvel of the Neolithic age. Now, the curator of the Valletta Museum, he dated it at the time. I think his name was Zamet, uh, to around 3000 BC. Now, I think it goes way much older, some of it, but maybe some structures are from 3000 BC and related to the Phoenicians and things like this. But we have the May 1920 National Geographic magazine I have here. If you guys want to go to my patreon.com/the mystical spiral, I show it and we go into it more in depth. I even remote view the place. For $2 a month, you could join my Patreon for as low as $2 a month, and you get priceless information. So you guys check that out. That's patreon.com/the mystical spiral. So the magazine gave us an article titled Malta, the Halting Place of Nations by William Arthur Griffith, right? And he describes the hypogeums, oracles, and things like that. Now, Malta is about a 17.5 mile long island, only 60 miles from Sicily, that's devoted to the mother goddess. The whole island is a mother goddess technology, sound technology to communicate with the waters on earth, but not just the waters on earth, the waters in the heavens. It's a sound technology similar to the dolphins and whales, and it emits a frequency that goes through the waters on earth and through space. And this is an ancient technology, right? And both Sicily and Malta play a huge part in our world's history. Remember, these places were fought over for many, many years by many, many tribes for their trading access and also and their temples and being one of those spots where they're the umbilical cord of the earth, like, right? The Strege, the Strege underground families that I'm even connected to, they are where both islands are tied to their hereditary ancestry and the spiritual ancestry of the Strega, right? And it's related to the ancient Vedic hymns and mantras and sound technology to anchor in the gods. The language of the gods was Sanskrit, and these ancient temples were using a form of Sanskrit hymns and mantras to emit a frequency through those mantras and broadcast it on a much different level than we're aware of. And this whole island is a technology for that. Even certain temples are built like the inner structure of an ear, right? Really incredible. I did a show with, unfortunately, the Truth Frequency Radio archives are down. I can't access it, but I did a show with Glenn Kreisberg, who I've had on this Space Water podcast that we're on right now. This is my Space Water podcast, episode 16, The Golden Noose of the Gods, Giants Under Malta. But I did a show on my Eye of Ra old radio show and my Spiral Radio old radio show on Truth Frequency Radio with Glenn Kreisberg years ago about the sound technology of Malta. You guys can pick up his book, Spirits in Stone. Do I have it here? I might have it right here somewhere. Yeah. You guys can pick up his book, Spirits in Stone, that describe it, right? Glenn Kreisberg, he's a friend of mine. Can I show you right off? Maybe he gets into a little bit of, yeah, of Malta here. So this is Glenn's book. In chapter 13 has Mission Malta, right? So if you guys want to look, does he have a picture of yeah, see the hypogeum? And it's literally shaped like an ear, and the inner sound of it, and he gets into the vibrational patterns of it as well, right? This is the Hagar Qim temple, actually, and he compares it to the layout of a typical 800 megahertz wireless antenna pattern, right? He's a sound engineer, Glenn. So when he gets into the sound engineering of the temples, he knows what he's talking about, right? And I noticed that it does look like like the workings of an ear, the inner ear, and you can see all the spiraling loops here, right? The symbolism in Malta. Now, Malta has the dolmens as well, the gateways of light, right? Most of these dolmens are built out of granite with high quantities of quartz and magnetite with them. They act like a coil, right? This was not only talked about in Glenn's book, but he's repeating the information from the work that the scientist and archaeologist Moreau did, right? The French one, when he started working with different sacred stone sites, especially dolmens and standing stones and menhirs in Karnak in France, right? So the dolmens act like a coil, very much so, right? And they also are built on a lot of places where there's shocks and vibrations, natural shocks and vibrations in the ground, right? When quartz is compressed together, rubbed together, it opens up light, cold plasma light from the quartz, right? It's a doorway of light. Really incredible, right? But the Strege, they know about the strong powers of the temples of Malta and Sicily and all throughout the Mediterranean. In fact, the Strege bloodlines would use these low guttural metered chants to activate energies as well. A lot of times they would do it around walnut trees and certain trees to for certain things. We'll get into that another time. But um uh all of Malta is covered by underground temples stretching from one end of the island all the way to the other end of the island, and many of them have the dolmens, stone slabs with the tops, and they're weighing many tons each, very similar to Stonehenge and all over the earth, right? And there's all these stone balls and huge stone cones, all this sacred geometry, right? That have to do with sound technology, right? You have cones in the speaker, right? You have cones that help develop sound. And a lot of it has been dismantled, but there's still places underground Malta that we have not touched, believe me. And there's evidence that there's still an underground culture living there, possibly the giants. And from my own remote viewings and experiences, I do believe about 4 to 5 thousand years ago, maybe even sooner, some queens were put into stasis, not kings. From my own viewings, I've only seen queens that have been put into some sort of stasis in some sort of sarcophagus chamber within different locations on the planet, like the Himalayas and different places like that. And there's been priesthoods guarding these locations, right? One of these locations where I do feel there's a, a certain group of ancient ones that are guarding the location is under beneath Malta. Now, these temples, they had these holy of holy sacrificial altars in them as well, right? And the walls of them have these, like in the Temple of Tarxian, uh, they have carvings of bulls and one bull facing another bull, Usually this has to do with solar activity, right? And when you have an underground temple that's also has to do with sound, with communicating with the stars and communicating with the cosmos, they most likely were dodging the golden noose of the gods. Strong solar aurora, uh, a change in solar wind activity. And this shows within the petroglyphs, which in pictoglyphs all over the planet. It seems that worldwide they were describing massive solar events where they had to go deep beneath the ground to escape, right? So, I do believe there may be an ancient culture. There's a strong possibility, and we have some evidence to this that I'm going to get into, where people, even like when you go on a what's it called, when you go on school, you go on a field trip. There was a field trip to Malta where people disappeared. I don't know if that other channel that recently did a show that one of my fans out there, one of our listeners here at Space Water Podcast, asked me to discuss it, and said that a popular YouTube channel just did a video about giants under Malta. I don't know if they covered in their video uh, a whole field trip going missing and never being seen again. The teachers, the students, they went to go visit these underground temples of Malta, and they went missing and never were found again. And for a few days, maybe even a week before they completely were gone, people were looking for them in the tunnels. They were hearing echoes of activity, people crying, shouting out to help, but they couldn't find them, right? So this was written about in the National Geographic magazine. I have the copy right here. And a lot of these carvings underneath Malta, I mean, and we'll get into some of the bones that were even discovered. I mean, woolly mammoths and things like this, right? But underground, the altar was found also with two large bull horns. So they were probably doing solar worship, right? And the same as the Minotaur in Crete. You know, and the dolmens and the menhirs, they're very powerful technologies, people. These are not just primitive sites, right? They have a specific purpose, and they're all over the world. And when you have certain things in Egypt, as you do in Malta and Sicily and Sardinia and Spain and Scotland and Japanese and Korea and all of these places. I mean, this was a worldwide culture, right? So, and like Sicily, Malta was constantly conquered by different tribes that are related to the Asuras and the Devas. You know, we have the Arabs, the Turks, the Normans, the Spaniards, uh, the Romans, the Phoenicians, the Carthaginians, the Greeks, the Vandals, right? Turks, uh, you know, and in 60 AD, St. Paul, who landed on Malta, he called what's called the Melita in the Bible, in the Acts of the Apostles. Uh, he he talked about the traces of different wells and uh all these prehistoric past civilizations that were there, and all these pits and wells that are all underground over the island. So there's for sure people that can exist underneath there, right? And uh they've found all different things underneath Malta. Obsidian from Greece, right? The black tufa stone rubbers from Sicily have been found. There's been caves where they found these peculiar looking kinds of elephant bones, right? The elephantus, whatever it's called, Menerinus or whatever, Menerinus or some shit. I forget what its name, but there's like a weird, peculiar type of elephant that they found in one cave. And in the hypogeum, in the underground chamber of the hypogeum, they found over 33,000 people's bones. Okay, so we have, and they were all in disarray, mixed in with broken pottery and figures of the goddess, all of this mixed together. So this was destroyed and run through by something or someone, or you know, they don't know. There's been all sorts of opinions over the years, whether it was just some kind of weird burial underground, an underground temple that were dedicated to spirits, uh, a sacred college of priests and priestesses that they initiated into the mysteries there, right? We got female figures that were made of alabaster, right? Which is a very ancient material that they used in Egypt as well. And we axe pendants made of jade and polished stone and things like this, right? So they have all of these, maybe even the best proof of mother goddess worship that we have, right? A whole society of matriarchy, right? Of the mater, of the matron, matriarchy, right? So it's interesting too that the Maltese language, they don't have a word for father, only mother, right? So that's goes to show you how devoted that they were to the mother goddess energy, right? Leslie, what's up, Randall Hill, Lynn Earthling, Leslie H. Who else is with us? Charlotte Knight, right? So in the August 1940 issue of National Geographic, right? I have the 1920 and 1940 issues right here. One's the hardcover and one's the soft cover. Richard Walters' Wanderers Awheel in Malta article. They're describing the incredible underground labyrinth of temples, catacombs, tunnels, right? And you can see why the Maltese government had closed it off to the public, right? And it's really incredible that this story is in the National Geographic, and most people don't talk about it today. But on a sightseeing trip, right? This is in the National Geographic. And this is pretty intense, people. On a sightseeing trip. Now, this is like some sort of tour for the study, for for them to study, that we go on field trips in school, right? So a bunch of elementary school children and their teachers decided to descend into this tunneled maze, and they never returned, never to be seen again, right? And they were saying for weeks, mothers declared that they had heard wailing and screaming from underground. Numerous excavations and different search parties brought no trace of these lost souls, it says in the National Geographic. And after 3 weeks, they were finally declared or given up for dead. Incredible. Now, this was in the National Geographic in the August 1940 issue, and they say that many of the streghe as well in Italy, and especially Sicilian and Maltese streghe, or witches and the mystics of the area, right? Those bloodlines, they'll tell you that they know the true secrets of Halsafani, and they say that the true secrets of Halsafani have not even been discovered, and that the teachers and children are not dead. They didn't go missing because they're dead, but they're now part of a living race of people that are still surviving in their underground homes and still worshiping these ancient deities. And they're protected from discovery by various traps and landslides that initiate traps that initiate landslides. And explorers get too close, they get trapped in where they can never get out. and then eventually they're come rescued or they die. And when they're rescued, they're not rescued from above. They're rescued from the people below, and they're not ever let back up. And the Strege families, the Strege, if you start to talk to them or if you're part of them, like I know, they'll tell you stories that they go back for many years, that if people go down there and they get too close, they're never seen again. And there's booby traps all over those tunnels. That's why it's no longer allowed to go down there, right? So there's probably little tours for specific people, but they're not allowed to go to specific, deep in, and you know, you got new blood mixing with old still. If you got people from up above now getting trapped down there and then living with that race below. So there's constantly maybe adding new blood from above on purpose, giving them a stronger stock for their Maltese underground matriarchy that's going to reemerge. And I think this can be one of the spots where the Nephilim bloodlines reemerge from. You do. It's true. Most books that comes about like witchcraft and the old religion, they mostly talk about Europe, but it's British based, right? It's Ireland fairies and all. They rarely get into Southern Europe and the Italian version and the Maltese and Sardinia, which is where the British and all them get their knowledge from, right? I mean, it's incredible. So yes, I do believe that these are the ancient bloodlines that could still exist beneath Malta, and they're related to an ancient form of Sanskrit, right? The language of the gods. So I have actually the copies of the books here, not the copies, the actual National Geographic books here. And I'm showing them on my Patreon, 1920 and the 1940 articles. Now, when we talk about Sanskrit, there's a reason why they call this the language of the gods, right? There's a reason why. When it's called a universal language or a language of the gods, it's not just some sort of exaggerated phrase. It actually is portraying the primal sounds of the universe, or how the universe was created and how it's sustained and how it evolves and how it's eventually dissolved, right? These primal sounds of the universe are embedded inside the vowels and the letters and the pronunciation and the sound of the Sanskrit, the true form. And there was a much more ancient version of this that were spoken by these tribes. And when you have Assyrians, Mitanni, the Hittites, the Persians, they're just a sound shift derivative of ancient Sanskrit, right? It's their own version of it. Now, when you change something and you alter the sound, you also alter the knowledge of it. You also alter the application of it. And so if you have something that is anchoring in cosmic energy and you're switching it to a warrior frequency, and it's about materialism and greed and power, it's going to switch that frequency of what you're doing. It's completely a different version of the original, right? It's used for their own weaponized purpose. So this is what's happened with a lot of these languages. So the letters of the Sanskrit, the original letters of Sanskrit, how they were meant to be when these bloodlines were once in harmony together. The Asura and the Deva both meant divine, and they were in flow with nature in the universe. It was invented specifically for a cosmic language, right? We tend to use language now for a social convenience, right? For social interaction. But before there was a much more deeper meaning to this speaking, right? It was not just another human language. It was for anchoring in cosmic knowledge. And it's for the human mind to interface with the primal energies and cosmic intelligences to receive deeper insights about their own life and their own path, right? And if you understand the Sanskrit alphabet and the way it's pronounced in the language, you can understand and unite your individual self with your cosmic self, right? And the self with the universal self energy. And you regain your higher self, your inner voice in the world of eternal, right? This is very important. So Sanskrit is uh made from the sound of Shiva's cosmic drum. I mean, this is how they poetically describe it in the Vedas and the Hindu and the sacred writings of the Vedic culture, right? They literally say that the letters of the Sanskrit alphabet are said to arise from Shiva's cosmic drum, which ultimately is the sun, right? The sun is keeps the time, the drum of the solar year, the beat of the year, right? And if you look at the sun, it looks like the face of a drum, right? It's Shiva's cosmic drum. And the primal sounds that arise is the electrons as they come into the planetary spheres, the magnetospheres, they make chirps and sounds like birds and different sounds. It's the primal sounds of plasma and the solar wind and the electrons and all the primal sounds of nature. This Sanskrit is anchoring in those energies, right? And it's the Shakti energy of Sanskrit is the mother goddess energy that they're speaking of in Malta. When you have Shakti, that SKT, that's Sekhmet. Sekhmet is the derivative of Shakti of Vedic, right? It's and it's one and the same. It's the destructive and healing feminine powers of the sun, right? These are not people. These are solar and stellar attributes, influences, right? Let me see what's going on in the chat room. Thank you, Randall Hill. Yep, there's definitely a subterranean groups. Right before I started, too, the Ozzy Osbourne song "Killer of Giants" came on. What perfect thing to come on, right? What perfect song to come on. Oh, speaking of obsidian, I mentioned obsidian earlier. If anybody wants to be the guardian of this new skull I had carved by Master Carver, we just got in. I haven't put it up on my website yet. Made out of the highest quality black obsidian, golden sheen obsidian. It has the golden flash of it. Master carved, and it's a nice eye. Look at the golden flash all over the face, right? And also on the back, all over the back of the head, right? And look at the master carved detail made by our Indian carver, the same carver that Joshua Shapiro uses that came on my show. This is next level. Whoever wants to claim this now, they could claim this. Hasn't been put up on my website yet, and this is next level. Who's going to be the guardian of this beautiful piece right here? Golden sheen, black obsidian. I also have palm stones and spheres of the same obsidian. Really incredible. And for those Christians out there that have found my channel, realize that crystals and working with copper is not evil. It's the person wielding it that makes something evil, right? I guarantee you, if Jesus was around, he'd be wearing an amethyst necklace or things like that. All materials of earth are made for us to use and made for us to be here. It's the person that wields it that makes it evil. So crystals are a piezoelectric material. I've done demonstrations here right on YouTube showing if you rub quartz together, it forms light, right? You can electrical impulses can happen from compressing quartz. They also absorb the electrons and time. They can keep time. They're like recording devices, right? So they can also record your thoughts and things like this. So if someone is a negative person, even though if they're portraying themselves as a good Christian and things like that. But if inside of them they're eating poison all the time, like poisonous foods, they're thinking poorly about people and themselves, and they're just poisonous vibes, then of course they're going to broadcast poisonous vibes, and crystals are going to record that and amplify it. But if somebody is ultimately a good person, even if they have some troubles in life, but ultimately they think good about people, they think good about themselves, they have good aspirations and good hopes and dreams, then working with crystals is going to be a good thing for them because they're going to broadcast and amplify and record that energy, that healing energy, that inspirational energy. Just like if you have a pen, you can draw a beautiful art, you could write a beautiful poem or whatever. You can make beautiful things with a pen, or you can use it as a weapon and attack somebody with it. It's the person who wields the device that makes it bad or good. So unfortunately, humans have developed this dogma that are related to Christianity and certain religions about crystals and things like this. But no, every shape has a power as well. So carving a crystal or a gemstone into a specific shape will transform it, especially when it's carved into a sentient creature's skull, right? Very powerful, very powerful. So this is an incredible piece here. Look at that golden flash obsidian all over the face, all over the back, occipital area, the two main parts of the skull, the front crown and the back area, all beautiful. Look at the highly detailed master carving work on there. Perfect set of choppers too. We also, I'll give you guys a little treat. This is available right here, but the next one I'm going to show is sold. I had it custom made because you guys can get whatever stuff that I have on online, but I also have a huge inventory that's not online that you guys can get from. And also you can custom order things. Like if you want a specific skull or a specific carving from a specific whatever, you can order it, right? So one of our customers, our good buddy Sean, wanted a fire quartz skull that was about 2 kilograms. We had it made for him. Really incredible. Let me show you guys. Fire quartz, and it has rainbow all over it, the ancient style. And it's like a bulbous, really cool. Look at this. Really amazing. Love it. Really powerful. We got it sitting in a velvet case right now. Really cool. And when I talk about plasma beings and plasma life on Earth, I do feel there's plasma intelligences, and NASA has caught them diving into thunderstorms, congregating. I have a PDF file of a NASA article published where they have they have well, what's unfortunate, Randall Hill, is yeah, we are conduit ourselves, but unfortunately nowadays we have so much EMF and unseen forces around us that are getting in the way of us being conduit, that we need copper and certain crystals like shungite and things like that to help protect us from those energies as well and absorb and transmute those energies. So that's why they're good, and that's why I make copper devices and I twist copper around shungite. Oh, you guys got to see this. Check this out. I just made the mega shungite, and this is made from elite noble shungite. And I would appreciate, Randall, if you don't come into my chat room bad mouthing what I do for a living, telling people they don't need it. That's my craft. I'm a metal worker, And you know, I do metallurgy, and that's how I feed my family. So I would kind of appreciate it if you tell people, you know, keep that to yourself if you think that way. But I just made um beautiful piece here, guys. I don't know if you guys can see it on the video. I'll have to do it. This is the twisted silver copper around a huge piece of elite noble shungite. Huge piece here. And elite noble AAA gauge shungite like this is a collector's quality shungite. It is very rare, and it has about 98% carbon 60. Really incredible. I have some Herkimer diamond pieces I just made as well, wrapped in copper. Really nice. So let me show you also some proof of what I think are plasma intelligences, translucent light beings on Earth, and how I think they're coming in on rays, streams of light through holes in our magnetosphere, like auroras do, specific on beams of light through archaeoastronomy alignments with certain structures made of red granite that it can absorb and communicate with the plasma, right? Because you have red granite megalithic dolmens that have winter solstice solar alignments with the sun, right? On winter solstice. And I could show you, wait, let me show you guys something here. This is something that I recorded. So right here is the north. This is my own YouTube for YouTube out there. So don't give me no copyright strike because this is my own video that I'm showing here on YouTube. So right here is the North Salem, New York balanced rock, right? It's made out of red granite that's nowhere from this area. You can't see it in this picture too well, but its face is shaped like the side profile of Sekhmet, the solar deity. You can see this is the ear area, the eye, the nose, the mouth, the chin line, and the headdress. It looks just like it. I could show you better pictures to show you. It's just like Sekhmet from this side, right? So that's the solar deity. It's made out of red granite. And on winter solstice, it has a solar alignment that you'll see in this video as well. So on winter solstice morning, the sun sits right on top of the head. It goes right across the head. And as the day passes, it just gets higher and over it, right? So this is a little later in the day where it's higher above the sun. But when the sun rose in the morning, it was like right here, right above, aligning with it, right? Um, so this red granite has high quantities of quartz inside of it. And it's built on a spot where there's natural vibrations and shocks. There's underground water. There's all water back here, a stream of water running through there. You guys can see it, kind of see it. There's water, and there's water, underground water. So when you have underground water that makes shocks and vibrations running water, it'll squeeze and compress and make the quartz rub together within the granite that opens up light as well. So, and there's a winter solstice solar alignment, archaeoastronomy alignment on winter solstice with this stone. So this is where we're at on this day. I'm not there on the winter solstice alignment, and I'm recording it, and all of a sudden I see these beings run past the camera, and they're barely visible, translucent, but they're in humanoid shape, and they're running past the camera. Now I think they came in on a bridge of a doorway of light directly from the sun, directly from octaves of the sun, right? So let me guys show you this video, and let me think. This is from my own channel here. Let me see what you guys think. Not these arcs. These are just the flares from the camera. But see, there's the solar alignment with the stone that day. Watch. Here they go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see those beings run past? Let me show you guys again. Let it run. I showed you guys the sun. Watch. Here they come. 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 4 people ran by. I haven't edited it. I mean, I did edit it as the fact that I cut it from a smaller, I trimmed it from a much larger video, but I didn't edit it in any way like doctor it. You guys can see there's humans running by. It looks like humans. Can you not see? Here it comes again. Watch. Here it comes. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 that I see. What's your reaction here in the chat room, people? Let's see it again. And it's interesting because those those colors of arcs, they're right over the spot where the dowsing goes crazy. Look at 1 person runs by, 2, 3, and you can see it's in the shape of a human. Let me try to freeze it when they run by. Hold on. And this is right on my YouTube, everybody. Well, I almost caught one right there. You could faintly see it. Right there. The head, the body. Let me try to rewind it. Let me try to get the next one. Ah, yeah, it's hard to get. There. I caught kind of one of them right here. But it's hard to catch. Look at it. Watch. Here we go again. One more time. Whoa, I almost caught it. It's right here, but you can't see. It's running past. Look, I got it right here. You can't see it when you pause it too much, but they're running past. Wow, that is incredible. It gives me chills. Yeah, it gives me chills. Really gives me chills watching that. Really incredible. And these bloodlines, I think all of these sites are related to the devas and the asuras. And I do feel this site is related to the devas, the Brahmins, the priests. And this was a spot for healing, not war. And Sekhmet is used for both healing and destruction. So I do feel that this spot was a powerful spot, where it was connected to the healing of the higher levels of the Asuric energy could be about protecting the mother goddess and protection, that warrior protector. But the lower levels of that Asuric force is about domination and war and power and control and greed and materialism. And see, we're being controlled right now on the planet by that lower level of the Asura energy. But at Sura, at its divine higher level, is about protection of the mother goddess, protection of the mother of creation, and about a warrior protection aspect, right? So it's not all evil. It's just the level, the current vibration of the Asuric force on the planet is the evil vibration, right? And one of the most amazing things of plasma physics that you also see in the Vedic insight is the unity of fire, light, and water. Because this is all what the sun poetically is like, right? It's really incredible. It's the inner sun worlds, the water. See, in Vedic thought, it's very interesting because this is how I got lured to it from my own experiences. The inner or the spiritual worlds are symbolized by the waters or an ocean. And this is the way you can symbolize plasma, solar wind, and the sun, all of this. And you can see those gods like Baal, and they are originally storm gods, Zeus and all of them, but they're solar gods as well. It's about solar storms, right? The golden noose of the gods is the coronal mass ejection and solar prominence. And I am the one to rediscover this in our times. Because believe me, if anybody else out there that might come out with this information in the future, If anyone in the past few decades thought that the Ankh of Egyptian or the Pasha of Hindu meant the coronal mass ejection loop, they would have said it like that, right? No one's saying it like that until I've said it. This has been my mission. This is my imprint on the world, right? This is part of my legacy. So people need to give me that shine because I'm part of that, right? And people need to, at least recognize it because you've never heard that before, right? And it's very simple though, right? It's very simple when you realize it. I mean, goddamn, I have had this. This is from my old boss gave this to me from the Cairo Museum when she came back from Egypt. And this is from the Cairo Museum. I've had this for over 30 years, right? I got this when she became my boss. But before she was my boss, my dad had worked for her. My dad had a small home heating oil company in the 80s and 90s. And his company was bought out by a bigger company, Robeson Oil. And Mrs. Singer, who was the wife to Saul Singer, who was the original owner of that company, an older lady, she gave this to me from her trip to Egypt because she knew I was into Egypt at such a young age. And you can see Akhenaten. Let me stop sharing. You guys can see this. Look, Akhenaten. This is the lower 18th dynasty, right? Akhenaten is being handed down a coronal loop or an ankh right from the arms of the sun. I mean, holy crap. Even they show the uraeus or the asp or the basilisk in Greek, the little snake here. That is the way the electrons or the electricity moves through the plasma waves. They move like snakes or the dolphins of Apollo, right? They bring the wisdom, the Naga. The Naga are the electrical information traveling through the plasma coming from the sun. This is plasma. All these streams of light, it's plasma. But they didn't have the science. They're saying the spiritual aspect of it. And, one of these streams, it's the coronal loop. It's being handed down right to its solar king. And its solar king is breathing in, taking in the bridge of light from the sun, right? Being one, when you breathe in something, you become one with it, right? And what did he call himself? His name was Amenhotep III, but he changed his name to Akhenaten, which people translate wrong. It literally means the intelligence of the rays of the sun, right? The sentient plasma coming from the sun. And he didn't worship the solar disk like everybody says, the Aten, right? This is the Aten. He worshiped the light emanating from the solar disk, completely different. The information coming from the solar disk, right? He's literally handing down a coronal loop, the golden noose of the gods, right? And there's Ankh, which is the breath of life, the breath of the sun. The sun is life, right? And the eye of Ra is the eye of the sun. It's about replenishment, protection, right? Well, you also have a word in Egyptian that's Akh, A-K-H, where you get Akhenaten. There's also a word that's interchangeable with Akh called Ku, K-H-U. Ku and Akh also mean the intelligence of the sun, right? Which also means the coronal loop. And when you see the Akh, it's always represented by a crooked bird with, like the goose that forms that loop. And also the goose makes the same sound as the electrons make when they come into the magnetosphere, or the chirping and all these sounds. It's the same. It's the music of the sun. That's why they call it the cosmic honker, right? It's really, I'm not making this up. It's the solar swan, anything with that crooked neck, a crooked staff of the solar deity. When they hold their crooked staff, it's the loop, right? And the crook staff will be entwining snakes that form the crook staff. Those are the twisting magnetic field lines that form the coronal loop, right? This is all from my book, and people are going to steal it out there. They already have. But that's why if there's publishers out there, contact me because I'm looking to find a publisher that will actually put money behind me to get this stuff published because I can't afford to do it myself. And if I have to put it on Amazon, it's really going to take away from a lot of things. Like, because Amazon takes like a majority of the profits, right? So I don't want to just give it to Amazon. But the water birds of dawn, right? It's the water. When you see water bird symbolism, it has to do with the music coming from the sun, right? And when we merge into meditation, we merge into water, right? It's like merging into water. You let go of your ordinary who you are, your senses, your everything. Uh, in Hindu and Vedic, they would say you're letting go of the prana itself, and you're going beyond the breath, right? You're diving into the deep sea, and this is described right in Akhenaten, right? So it's the fire in the waters, right? The symbol of the light, right? It's incredible, really incredible. And Agni in Vedic and Hindu, right? In the Rig Veda, Agni is the cosmic fire. He's the sun god. And he's connected with also the cosmic waters, right? This is plasma physics, the language of the gods. And the god mind in the Rig Veda is the cosmic water mind, the Agni, right? And it's the god mind and the god vision. They dwell in the waters of the inner worlds, and they come from cosmic space, the waters of cosmic space, right? When you have the waters that are named here on Earth, like even the Ganges River, the Ganges was named after a cosmic coordinate. When you have the Nile was named after its cosmic counterpart, right? The Eridanus River, which ironically is not even in, is below the horizon. Egypt never even sees the Eridanus River. So for them to say that the Nile is the counterpart, that's always below the horizon. So, they have so much cosmic knowledge that has to do with plasma physics nowadays, right? So you mentioned the rasa before, right? I think, or the ragas. It's the rasas that's also has to do with plasma, the plasma water. So you have in the Vedic, you have apis and jyoti, right? Apis is APAS and jyoti is JYOTI, I think. This is water and light. Apis is water, jyoti is light, and they're the two main factors of our cosmic existence. The two primary essences or rasas, right, in the universe is apis and jyoti. This is water and light. And these are cosmic water, cosmic light. And it comes directly from the sun, right? And they have specific hymns and mantras to align us with that solar energy. And they have ways of pronouncing it, ways of pronouncing it at dawn, ways of pronouncing it at noon, ways of pronouncing it at dusk, right? This is the same thing in Egyptian. You have different gods, different ways of Osiris takes different forms at noon, at different forms at, right? It's the same thing, right? When you have Amen Ra, it's derivative, it's derived from Om Rama. Om is the primary essence of the universe sound, right? So when you have Amen Ra, it's derived from Om Rama, right? And Asar is the Asura. Asar is Osiris, right? So, um, yeah, yeah, that's the unity of water and light is just incredible. And it's they have the Gayarti, the Gayatri mantra. It's taught in the Upanishads or Upanishads, I think it's called. But I hate those words are really hard to say. but they have closing mantras that talk about water and light are the immortal essence, right? So water is light. Light is water. I mean, it has to do with the sun. It's very incredible symbolisms that's used in plasma physics today. All right. And uh, water and light is that essence of Agni and Soma, that fire water equation of the solar worlds, right? Really incredible, everybody. And this is the path of becoming a rishi or an adita, right? This is the sun is the immortal deity of the Vedas, and it has all these different forms and attributes of the sun god, right? Sometimes he's a Rudra, right? Where he's that asura, destructive, transformative solar energy, that Rudra mantras, right? And Rudra, it's spelled Rudra, right? That's another part. That's there's all these different forces, right? There's the Indra and the Indra force, the Shiva force, right? And Indra in Sanskrit, it means Lord or ruler, right? It ruler of the heavens. It means it's a solar lord, the solar ruler, right? And Indra, like all the stories of slaying a dragon, he has to pierce the dragon to release the seven rivers, right? So that's literally him piercing the magnetotail to let all the auroras in, right? To eliminate the evil on earth. These are the cosmic waters. And this is the magnetotail that stretches out on the night side like a dragon sleeping. It's like a breathing dragon. And all the electrons come in and it gets chaotic in there and it breathes out auroras, right? And this is the seven rivers that Indra releases. This is the seven Indra with Marduk and Tiamat. It's the same story, right? I've done a previous show on this before, right? But there's also, with Indra and he has to slay Vitra, right? And Vitra is the enemy of Indra because you have the sun trying to penetrate the magnetosphere, but it's blocking it. It's the enemy. And then when it does penetrate and goes into the magnetotail, it goes into the fiery breathing the fiery dragon, right? And and Vitra is the magnetotail. Apophis is the magnetotail. It's the sleeping dragon with its tail. It's that's why they call it also the destroyer of the cities, the all of this going on, right? Really incredible. Thank you, Randall Hill. Yeah, it's taken me, you know what? I was wrong for many, many years. It's taking, I'll be 46 in a couple of weeks, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'll be 46 in the beginning of July. But it's taken me 30 years to start for the answer to start showing me, because through just studying alone, you don't get the answers. Through my life experiences, I started getting revealed. And look at the sun coming in. Look, the sun's showing its rays right here, coming in through the window. That's through the blinds. That's my blinds showing through the sun. Look at that. The sun coming through. The light is coming through. Let's bathe in the light. Yeah. So, Indra, like Shiva, is the fierce god who transcends good and evil. Thank you. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. If you guys want to look good at 40, at 46, you gotta some of the stuff that I've been posting on YouTube, like working with the copper, working with electroculture, gardening. I use copper for electroculture. You guys can see my YouTube. I also have a second YouTube called The Mystical Spiral. You could also find it, The Mystical Spiral, Copper and Gemstones. You can use these water rings to restructure water. Copper normally has a positive and negative pole, positive and negative charge. But when you twist it clockwise, it's like wringing all the dirty electrons out, like twisting a rag that has dirty water and you're wringing it out. You're twisting the negative charge out of the copper. where it's just a positive charge within the copper from the clockwise twist. This is cut from the royal cubit measurement as well. And then you make it into either a coil or electricity circle or a harmonizer, like you see here with the coil, right? This is the same shape that's our magnetosphere is around Earth. This is also the same shape as a torus or the way supernova explosions explode, right? So it's a constant explosion of fresh new electrons. There's no woo-woo about any of this. It's not new age. It's older than anything. It's the knowledge of the ancients, right? New age is going out there thinking that, like, yeah, there's people that are into the same thing that are considered new age to me because they're like airheads. They just hear something that sounds cool and they run with it. That's not me. For me to start talking about something, I have to really be convinced. I have to have the scientific aspect to it, and I have to, like, there's a lot. So I hate that I'm lumped in with that as well, but I take it for, you gotta take it from where it comes from. And most of the people that are critical and that are negative right off the jump, judge you without even getting to know what you're about, most of those people are not doing anything good in their lives. They're not doing anything significant or creative or whatever. And if they are, they're not successful, so they're bitter, right? So I don't need bitter, unsuccessful people telling me. Yep. Yeah, well, I was I had a high IQ as a kid. I did well in school without studying as a kid, and I'm I wasn't a prodigy, I guess, in music, but I was very gifted in music without getting lessons. I never had guitar lessons or things like that. And I just there's certain I'm just an art, like I'm a Renaissance type man. Like I'm into the, creativity. This is the way to tap into who you are, right? We receive, if you want to call it psychic, telepathic, we receive messages from the universe, God, however you want to see it, through our creativity. But most of us don't realize it and don't pick up on the spiritual signs that we're getting all around us at every moment, that we're connected to this interconnection web of, where that's all. And it's not ego, it's not like everything's about us, but we're inside the flow of everything. And until we start to see where our place is in the flow of everything, we're going to be confused. We're going to be looking for answers. And unfortunately, religion are made by humans. And we're at nature a spiritual people. So we gravitate towards spiritual things. And depending on what family we're in or whatever we get programmed by, unfortunately, we get these blinders on. And, anything created by a human, any religion that's created by a human is not, it's dangerous. I'm not saying that they can't have some real information in there, but it's dangerous. How many people have been killed in the name of God in Christianity alone? Incredible amounts. Incredible amounts. Martyred even. So it's really incredible when you start to think about most of the negativity comes from so-called religious people, right? Or so-called religions, right? And I mean, there's all different chants, hymns and chants that are bringing in the cosmic knowledge. And when you have Asura and Deva war, it's still transpiring to this day. We are being ruled by the Asuric force. The Asuric force is what keeps people drug addicted, enslaved. And this is the ongoing war between the Devas and the Asuras. And it's over the rays of the sun, right? So the rays of the sun is the spotted cows. This is why they went to war. They were trying to harness the rays of the sun to achieve immortality. And some of them wanted to rule as gods, and they went to war over this. And when they split up, it caused catastrophes on earth as well as in the heavens. And what reemerged after the flood were the Kabiri, right? Where 7 streams of plasma were repopulating the earth through these bloodlines. And it had to do with the Great Bear constellation that was hanging over the North Pole. It had to do with Sirius, had to do with the Pleiades, forming one cosmic stream of knowledge to these Kabiri survivors. And maybe we even had other incursions, right? So the older name of the Asuras in Vedas is the term Dasyu, Dasyu, and it's the more common name for Asura in the early Vedic literature, right? So the Vedic yoga works with the devas. They're trying to further the ascent of our souls. The asuras are trying to prohibit the ascent of our souls or of the devas, right? Asuric energies are about attacking the yogi, and they seek to weaken the yogi, and they create various obstacles and doubts and worries and contrary desires to what the yogi needs. They attack the yogi and weaken his energy, right? And this is what's happening today to us, right? And it's a battle on the subtle planes, and it's reflected on Earth. And these power struggles within the human soul and within human environments that we are facing today, right? They are about the Asura Deva war. Do you think that let me read this in the chat room. Do you think that they're adding metals to the foods to stop yes, to our conductivity? That's a great point, Randall Hill, in the chat room. Love that point. Yes, that's a great point, man. Put that in the comments of the video. I'll pin that comment. That's a great comment right there. Yes, I do think so. That's a great friggin' point right there. Great job, Randall. I'm proud of that point. That was great. See, you got people coming up in the chat room with great things to add. You guys can join my Patreon, patreon.com/themysticalspiral as well, because I want to be able to do more in-depth chats on there, that stuff we can't mention on here. And we have injected and bred into our species, both in our karma and our physical genetics, our DNA, violence against our own people, sexual depravity, right? And all perversions and dominance and war and mind control, black magic, drugs and addiction. It's indications of that asuric forces and energies, right? And that's been programmed within our genetic material and within our karma, even the slaughtering of animals and the eating of meat and things like this. It's all in there. Intoxicants, gambling, porno, it's all in there, right? And some of us humans, we have almost every check of that. Like, thank God I'm not into porno and certain things out there, because like I know some people that it's like really bad. They leave it on mute all the time and this and that. Like, yeah, I mean, it's incredible that, and then they want to go to church on Sundays and call themselves Christians. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. And it works. It's the same way with people that want to be shaman and healers. They'll be like jerking off all week and friggin' watching porno and eating bad foods and doing all this, and then they want to be a shaman on the weekend, right? It doesn't work that way, right? And you can't be a deva or an asura even, right, without true knowledge of where your place is and things. You have to get polarized towards the dark or the good, right? Or otherwise you're confused about who you are. At least if you get polarized towards the dark, at least you're on a path. It's almost worse being on no path, because then you're really confused. But we're coming to an age where we're going to have to make a choice very soon. We're coming to not an age, the day. We're coming to the day where we're going to have to make a choice. where our genetics is on the line. Our genetic imprint, who we're going to evolve into, is on the line. And the battle between the devas and the asuras is happening in our minds, on a cultural basis, on a political basis, everywhere. And if you see the promote of dominance, power over the senses and the body, over the mind, this is what our media is doing, then you're anything materialistic or political meaning to life and cultures, this is asuric forces, right? And this is what we got on us right now, upon us. And the deva energies, the Brahmin, the priesthood energies, are struggling to emerge within the asuric currents, right? And it's time for us to rise as the beings of light that we are, instead of being controlled by the dark forces of the light, right? So, do I watch? No. Yeah, I don't watch. I haven't. I literally have never ever owned one article of porno in my life. I literally haven't. I've had like a Playboy magazine or something when I was younger, but it wasn't even mine. Like it was like somebody that left it with me and stuff. But like, I'm just not into it. I would rather. It's just my current. I actually think it's more sexy seeing a woman on a runway in lingerie or something like that than seeing somebody get pounded out by some dude. I think it's kind of gay to watch that. I mean, not. I'm not saying gay, but I think it's kind of fruity. Who wants to watch some dude pounding out somebody? Like I don't. It's not sexy to me. It doesn't turn me on. I'd seen like a girl walk sexy down a runway with some nice clothes on. That's sexier to me than that's just my taste. Than seeing some person just get, that's I don't know. It's not my taste. But I get it. I get it. I get it. But there's so much more to go into, people, and we're just getting warmed up. But I think that's good for today. We covered some incredible things. And I want to thank you guys for joining me for an amazing episode of the Space Water Podcast, episode 16. I was going to go into my website and show more products and stuff, but you guys go to the Mystical Spiral store. We have 30% off of all products for orders over 125 right now, and I have huge discounts on other items. I'm also making some cool little new products. Look at the twisted copper around the crystal sphere. Really cool. Look at that. So cool. You guys can get all this stuff, even custom skulls, like this natural citrine skull right here. Look, I made a plasma loop to charge inside the skull. Pretty cool. Hit that like button. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you guys. Love you all. And you can find me at themysticalspiral.com for free information, themysticalspiralstore.com, and patreon.com/themysticalspiral. Have a good day and safe day.